This is Kingston Live. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, or even if you have just a passing familiarity with Kingston music, you've probably heard of our guest today. If Queen of Kingston Music was a title, you'd be hard-pressed to find someone more deserving than Miss Emily.
And so I said it to the ladies, I said it to the brother love, that I'll be loved, the upper by the way.
2022 JUNO nominee and multiple Maple Blues Award winner Emily Fennell has been catching the attention and affections of listeners for years with her combination of blues, soul, and rock, all tied together with the power and intensity of her voice. But it's not just her voice that lands Miss Emily top spots at festivals across the country. She brings an energy and humanity to her songs, both live and on recording, building an instant connection between audience and performer. It's been 2 years since the release of her live recording from the Isabel, and 5 years since her last studio album. Now Miss Emily is back with Defined by Love, a collection of 12 cuts musing on themes of pain, resilience, and inner strength. Defined by Love drops September 30th, kicking off a series of shows from the Grand Theatre to dates all across Western Canada.
Ange Stever here, joined by Miss Emily, which is wild because I have interviewed you many times over the years, but always with the time constraints of commercial radio. You know, keep it to 2 to 4 minutes. Not today.
Not today. So relaxed.
Oh, isn't it beautiful?
Are you feeling relaxed? I'm feeling so relaxed.
I'm feeling very relaxed. Thanks for asking. Usually I have to ask all of the questions.
So great.
So let's just let everyone know there's a conflict of interest here. We know each other. We go back many, many years to Prince Edward County where we grew up. And I often have mentioned to people, or when I'm bringing you out on stage or something, that the first time I saw you perform was on your 13th birthday. And we will go back, but I would love to start with what you've been up to recently because you're just on fire.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, like you've got a new album coming out. Let's start there because I've heard a couple of the tracks, I think, before they were even mixed. And I'm excited about this.
I'm really excited about it.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I was supposed to make a studio album in March of 2020. Blah, blah, blah.
COVID, we'll talk about that
what
too.
Happened
Yeah.
then? Anyways, so we managed to piece together some studio time in between massive lockdowns this past year. And I ended up with a completely different producer. Steve Mariner ended up producing it in a completely different studio, Ganaraska Recording Company in Coburg, owned by Jimmy Boskill. And it turned into this super epic, fun hang music making time. And we have a 12-song album, like the good old fashioned ones. And yeah, we're releasing it September 30th. I always say we. I don't just mean me, myself, and I. I do have a team of people who I am very excited and happy to share all this stuff with.
Let's talk about some of those people because you're surrounded by some great folks.
I really am. I mean, that's anyone's success. Like, it's been a good year for me, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that I have great people with me and around me and championing what I do. And that's why it happens. You know, it takes a village to raise a me is what I say all the time, but it really does.
Yeah.
So my village is Gort Hunter, my manager. His wife, Jeanette, is also a big part of that because he needs a village too. And then I have Margie Bailey Pfeiffer as my tour manager. I was the maid of honor in her wedding 20 years ago, and then she owed me, and or I don't know what happened there, but
Something
she
happened.
works for me now. Anyways, and then I have an agent, Todd Littlefield, Diesel Management, and the most incredible bandmates of all time.
Yeah.
And Jude Morano working the merch when she can, and always good for the words of enthusiasm and encouragement and wisdom. So I'm a lucky girl.
You are a lucky girl.
And great friends like you, bud.
Oh, thanks. And a talented gal as well. The last time I saw you perform was at McKinnon Brothers, the music festival that they have on. Just every time you take the stage, it's like dynamite.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, and the local situation is great. I mean, that's a one-of-a-kind event. My festival show is very different from any of my theater shows. So the theater shows are generally what I do in Kingston, except when it's like the McKinnon Brothers situation back to the farm, and then I get to do my festival, kind of a mini festival set, and it's, you just throw it all out there. The energy's very different. We don't bring it down and bring it up. We only have it up for 45 minutes,
Up. This new album is very up. I think a lot of people coming out of COVID and kind of down times and just everything with the world thought some of the music that's going to come out is going to be sad, and not the case with your album especially.
No. And I'm going through a shit divorce.
Yeah,
So those are, which, I feel like that's just still defines me right now, but it's not forever. Apparently they're over soon or eventually. So I thought I was going to end up with the saddest album I've ever made. And instead, you're absolutely right. It turned into this, it's like the happiest thing I've ever recorded and written. Because I wrote all the tracks on there except for 2. And then one co-write with Rob Baker. And so, yeah, it's like epically happy. This album is so happy.
Oh, love that. Now, the album that you put out before that was a live album that you recorded at the Isabel, and that was actually nominated for a JUNO. And I know that's something that you were after for a while,
Yeah.
just to be appreciated for what it is you do, to be recognized and to get a nomination. I know that meant a lot.
It was huge. It was to be recognized on that platform was a big deal for me. And one of the things, our Canadian industry is great about is having a platform like that recognizes their artists. But it is really hard when you're a genre that's not a top 40 pop genre, essentially, because we have all these categories for all those type of genres. But then the other thing that's really exciting, I think, in our industry is a celebration of diversity. And I think, as women, we're getting a little more traction with that. Also, I'm a woman over the age of 40 now, which is crazy. Who's that? Me, apparently.
Me too, girl. It's
I
all
know.
good.
So, I'm 41 now, and so I was 40 when I got that nomination just earlier this year. And I think about that. I'm like, if someone had told me way back when that I would be 40 when I got my first nomination, because I really do feel like I'm just opening doors to a new level for myself now. And so I don't feel like my age is a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think it's actually great. I mean, it's hard.
I don't think society looks at the age as much as it used to. It used to be like,
No.
oh, you're 25, you're past your prime, you know? And now people are starting to acknowledge that, sometimes with age does come wisdom or talent, or, they say you need 10,000 hours of doing something to be considered a professional at it. Well, you're only going to get better with time and practice, right?
For sure. I'm the best at my craft that I've ever been.
Yeah.
And I'm only going to get better. That's really how I feel. Maybe it turns around at some point in time, but not anytime soon. I'm in better shape physically, emotionally, mentally. I'm smarter, and I make way better decisions. I write better stuff. My experience is better. Also, I feel like I'm still only a fraction of the way there. I think I'm doing a good job, but I don't think I'm doing a great job. I think I can do a better job, and I have every intention of working harder so I'm better at what I do. And I will say, because people love to keep you in your place. Not all the people, by the way. Just a few people.
Oh, I've met them.
But they have loud voices. And that's what I was told all through my late teens, early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s. You're too old, you're too old, you're too old. God. And then in my 30s, nobody even said it because I think they were shocked I was still doing it. And now in my 40s, nobody would dare.
They would never say
Nobody
a
would
word.
dare, And I tell my age, like I wear it with such pride.
Oh, same. I love it.
Because
Yeah.
everything is functioning so much better in my world. I'm like the top of my game with all the intentions of moving in an upward motion. So, yeah, 40.
Yay, 40.
That was great.
Let's talk about the Maple Blues Awards, because that's another thing you've won. Scooped up a few, including another one this year. Nice to be recognized. And I guess I've listened to you do different genres of music, but the blues is kind of like what it's been put into the last couple of years, I guess you could say.
Yeah, so the blues community, and they're going through some really great, positive, exciting changes too as a community. I feel, and I feel like I'm on the right side of things in the sense that there's some conversations I've been trying to have with people in a more open forum for years now, and I feel like now they're actually happening, and so now I feel like I already have that conversation happening in my world. And that is, the conversation of appropriation in the blues. Like we talk about it more openly and consistently with Indigenous artists. And in the blues community, it is a Black art form. So we as white people are inspired by that art form. But what really is our place in that genre? And I know a lot of people feel very differently than how I feel, and I respect everybody's opinions. And but I just want to be having the conversation. You know what I mean?
It's an important one.
I love that the blues community has embraced me. I'm a soul singer. I am very much inspired by blues, but you will not find a 12-bar blues song on my records, and there's a reason for that, because I don't really necessarily feel like that's my space. It doesn't mean that other artists can't find that as their space. Go for it. That's your journey. That's your path. You have your vision and your ideas of that. But I just know for myself that with this acceptance of the blues community, I feel like I'm able to bring my own platform and still be true to who I am and how I feel about blues music and championing what I think I should personally champion, and then what I should make sure that I'm clear on is an inspiration. I'm inspired, and I feel very fortunate that I've been able to make music that is inspired by the blues and a group of people that I have a different background than. And yeah, I love talking about that. I hope I can talk about it more articulately as time passes and I educate myself more. But I do love the community because I do find it quite diverse, and I'm excited about the type of music that's coming out of that kind of genre, that the umbrella of that genre, and I'm just really happy to be included in it.
I love that you're talking about those things, because a lot of people don't even bring it up, right?
No, I dig it so much.
Yeah.
I tried to have this conversation with people, a few years back, and I felt like people really closed to the conversation, and that was okay, it wasn't the time. But now people are talking about it. I'm like, this is exciting. I have a lot of wonderfully talented Black friends, and they want to talk about it. And if they want to talk about it, then I'm here to listen and to learn and to talk when it's my time. And great, let's all just get more educated about this, know? Diversity and inclusion, and it's growing legs. It's got legs. It's happening. We have a long way to go, but we're in motion.
I love
That's
that.
cool.
I heard once a story is only as conscious as its storyteller. So I like that, we try to be conscious of these things, and then when we talk about them, they can make an impact, right?
Because I know I'm not necessarily the person with the best words for the topic, but I can point people in the direction.
Yeah.
Or I can start the conversation and maybe leave it out there for people who have better words for
Well, it's
it.
like you and I with women's rights. You need men and other people in the, allies and other people to stand
Yeah.
up and talk about it. And I know as a member of the LGBTQ community, Indigenous, we can come at this from all different angles.
Yeah.
But absolutely. It's that time and place, right? And yeah,
and
beautiful.
it's just important the conversations are happening. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So going back to COVID, because that really was the last few years for people, and you've been a full-time musician like your entire life. I know a lot of people went, okay, well, I'm going to fall back on my other job now because a lot of musicians have other jobs, let's face it. What was it like for you as a full-time musician to go through that period?
Well, challenging. I mean, I didn't have, there's people with more challenges and people with less challenges. I felt really fortunate because during a chunk of COVID anyways, I had a family and I wasn't a single parent. And so there was another person with an income in the household. That was a crucial piece of the puzzle for me, you know, to give credit where it's due, because to have your employment completely ripped from you is a very terrible thing, especially when you feel like your employment defines you. What I do for a living is a huge defining aspect of who I am as a person. And I don't feel the need to make any excuses for that. My parents would say that started when I was a baby. So it's just like...
It is what it is.
I know. I call it a disease, the musician thing. And it's just been me forever, you know? But I was fortunate that I didn't have certain struggles because I had another person who was employed in my household. And so we were not afraid after the first few months, because everybody was afraid the first few months about what kind of Armageddon is this.
Yeah.
But after the first few months, when we realized we weren't going to lose everything, I was able to just be a support system for my family and be a mother and a spouse and a partner and a good friend and a healthy person who could help some of my friends who were more vulnerable. And so I was very fortunate. Artistically, it was a real hit, and career-wise, it was a hit.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it, because I had all this momentum. 2019, early 2020, I'd won some awards, and things were really moving in an upward direction for me. And then down came the gauntlet.
I've talked to so many artists, and they all say like, oh, COVID set me back, COVID set me back. But then when we talk about it, it's like, but it set everyone back. Like everyone's on the same playing field, right? So
it's true. It's true. And I already had, because I was a parent, so I couldn't be touring 300 days of the year. I mean, that's been me for years. So I had a former publicist, Eric Alper, who's a really smart guy, suggested to me years ago, you need to reach out to your fans better on your social media accounts and do weekly video or whatever. So I really grew that part of my business before COVID. And so it really came in handy when COVID hit, and that was the only way we could reach people.
Miss Emily Mondays,
you know. I missed my Monday this week, actually. It's tough to do it in the summer when you work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you gig your heart out, and then Monday comes around, you're like, oh my God, I just need to like lie down. Anyways, but I usually get them out there sometime during the week, and that really paid off because I was able to still connect with my audience all over the world, even though I couldn't tour to them.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put my feet up here.
Yeah,
this is a comfy spot.
Just so everyone knows, I'm sitting in this nice chair, feeling very professional, and you're just laying on the couch.
I'm reclining on a couch.
It's a beautiful thing. I like that.
Yeah, this is not visual. This is just audio, so I look like garbage.
I get the visual, and
Angela is looking fabulous as always.
You're lying to the people.
I am not lying to people. You look great. I look terrible. And I'm okay with it. I say to my friends, like my friend said to me the other night, we were going out for dinner. She's like, what are you wearing? I said, you and I both know that I have two looks. Like,
the short one. I'm wearing the short one.
It's like the really, really terrible, has she showered? What is she thinking when she put that on look? And obviously she's not leaving her house, but yet I still doing those outfits. And then performance.
And then the fancy one.
And then fancy performance, Emily.
Yeah.
Yep. There's nothing really in between. So that's okay.
Let's talk for a second about Kingston's music scene, because let's face it, not a lot of people get to grow up and be a musician in a city like Kingston.
Yes. Yes. And just to be clear, you and I, of course, did not grow up here, but we have been here for you've been here
decades.
Yeah, you've been here 20 years.
Yeah.
I've been here 18 and a half years. So what a great town for artistry in general. A lot of musicians of my demographic, of any demographic, do not have the luxury of making enough money in this industry, even with a modest career, to have a mortgage and to live a fairly, what I'd call, quote unquote, normal life. And Kingston has allowed me that. So I bought my first house at 23. It wasn't in Kingston, it was just outside of Kingston, but Kingston.
Yeah.
We're going to call it Kingston. Greater Kingston area. Toronto doesn't just get it. I'm now on house number 4. I wish I was accumulating them this whole time, but alas, no. But I've been able to own houses as a full-time artist in Kingston. And who can say that when they live in any other town? The potential is there and very reachable, I think, in this city. And that is, I think, a easy way to determine that Kingston supports their arts community, because I don't have to live in poverty.
Yeah.
It can be close. I've lived for sure in poverty or close to poverty. But generally speaking, I've had a pretty good career here. And for years, 99% of my career was here.
Yeah.
It really was. So it's been branching out the last 10 or so, which is nice. But before that, the first 8 years, gosh, I was like pretty much all this region. So
I know over the years you've written songs about so many different topics, but there was one that you released recently, and it is not on the upcoming record. It was one that you just put out on its own. It's called The Medicine. And when you first told me about the song and then I heard it, I was like, this is powerful. And I think this is an important subject to talk about as well. But let's talk about how the song The Medicine came about.
Okay, so The Medicine is written about the opioid crisis and generally drug addiction. And addiction itself, drug addiction itself is an absolute pandemic in its own way in this country. And my understanding is it's also in other countries, but I don't, the information and the education that I've been getting has been specific to Canada. And I was reached out by a family member of a young woman who passed away while waiting for treatment for her addiction. And it is so sad. It's so unnecessary. And since that time, I personally know of 2 women. This young woman was a mom. The people that I know are moms. These are women who love their children, who are good moms in the ways they can be good moms. And their addiction is a disease, and they do not choose it. And just because they made a mistake 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, doesn't mean that they should lose their life. And so the family member that reached out to me told me about the story of this young woman and really wanted me to write something. And I said, I absolutely will, but this might take years. Like, I'm not sure. I don't choose when these things come to me.
Yeah.
And I really feel that I was just a channel for this particular lyric. And I don't feel like I'm the best person, actually, to be the poster person for this song. I wish someone else would pick it up and take it to the places where it can go and maybe help some people. But in the meantime, it's me. And the song is called The Medicine. And the chorus line says, you took the medicine till the medicine took you. And that's the thing, is we self-medicate. Everybody's got a story. Everybody's struggling, and we all find different ways to soothe ourselves. And we are losing beautiful, wonderful people in our country, including mothers, to this terrible disease. It just breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. And I couldn't even put this song on the record because I feel like it's only a standalone piece. But I hope there's more space for it somewhere. I personally haven't figured that out yet, but I hope there is somewhere where it can create a message and an anthem for the people who need it. I've had some really incredible people reach out to me about it. And I just can't speak from firsthand experience, but I after hearing from this family member of this young woman and then knowing people myself over the last few years who lost their battle, I realize it's a real terrible thing. And I'm hoping that, art always has a way of making things more palatable.
Yeah. Totally.
Making conversations more palatable. So
good on you for taking on a subject like that, for putting it out in an art form. And I think, maybe in your mind, you want it to do more, but I think it's already done so much. Just for that family alone, starting there. And then branching out, and me as a listener, listening to myself, we all know someone, know, and it is a disease, and it's so good that we're able to have conversations. I love that we're touching on so many different things today, because I just feel like 5-10 years ago, you weren't allowed to have conversations like this, or it was, taken out as like a criminal instead of, a medical issue or disease. And we need to start looking at that in today's society. And I think we really are. We're understanding things more.
Absolutely.
And art and music is a way for us to look at that change. And
and these stories aren't in the headlines anymore.
Yeah.
They just aren't, because they're not sexy headlines.
Yeah.
They're just, they don't and they're not the there's so many other things that are taking up headline space, which I understand. There's lots of important things happening in the world, but to me, this is one that we need to readdress as a society and find some answers to. Yeah.
As a journalist, I remember years and years ago being told that we didn't really report on domestic violence. And I would say, why? They'd say, well, because it's so prevalent, it happens so much, you would just constantly be reading things. And I said, okay, but what about the victims who just think they're the only one because they never hear about this? And I was able within my own company to change that policy, because it's true, we need to talk about these things.
Yes.
We need to tell people that they're going on in the community and that it's not okay.
Talk to the emergency staff down at our local hospitals.
Oh, yeah.
If you know somebody who works, they, because they can't give you much detail, but they will tell you, this is a big deal. This is a big issue. It is not only here, it is everywhere, but we don't even hear about it here.
Yeah.
And it's happening all the time. This isn't good.
Yeah.
It's not good. So, I don't know. Here's a piece of art. Let's see what happens.
Here's a piece. And you know what? I hope that you understand the impact that you make, because I'm a creative type as well. And I know sometimes we sit there and we go, what can we do? We see all of these things around us and we try to make sense of it. And all I can say is keep doing what you're doing, because you're helping others make sense of it all.
I mean, it's people say charity work. I'm like, this is my form of charity work.
Yeah.
Put a bunch of money behind it. I put it out there into the world. It's not anything that I have anything to really gain from, because it's not my message personally. It's just, but, we do what we can.
Yeah.
We do what we can.
I'm sure you read the headlines, though it's no longer front page news. And I suffer while I write this. Perhaps the best thing I can do is to mourn the loss of human life, so merciless and cruel. You took the medicine till the medicine took you. Got a letter from your brother, and I hear you have a son, and your family has suffered in this game nobody won. When you're waiting on the help, but then the help it never comes. You take the medicine
Thank you for listening to Kingston Live. Be sure to subscribe on your platform of choice and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. For more great Kingston music, check out the Kingston Live playlist on Spotify. For show listings, artist info, and all things Kingston music, check out kingstonlive.ca. You can also hear our sister show, Kingston Live on air, on Amherst Island Radio and CFRC.
What will you be doing this fall, winter? What's coming up for you?
Well, September 30th, the new album drops.
Nice.
The word we use, drops.
Drops down from the sky. People get hit in the head with a CD. Do they still have CDs anymore?
Oh, I'm about to press 2,000 of them. So,
yes.
Yes, the new album comes out September 30th, and October 1st is my album release at the Grand Theatre in Kingston, and it's my first show since 2020, which is insane. February 2020 at the Isabel, I did a big sold-out show, and then the Isabel had me back in the fall of 2020 to play for 35 people or whatever it was. It was a live stream.
Okay, I was like,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure there were a few more people watching from
a
home.
live stream, yeah, which was great. But so we decided to do something a little bit bigger of a space, and so we are going to be at the Grand Theatre.
Nice.
And I would love it if people would just please buy the tickets and sell it out. It'll just help me sleep better. I'm not particularly worried about it because this community is so amazing when it comes to live music events. Yeah. But I am really excited to share what we have been working on with everybody, including this entire new record.
What's the record called again?
Defined by Love.
Oh, yes. I last time we were talking about the title, I feel like you were still coming up with it. We were talking about different ones. Okay.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and I have a video that will be released the end of September, just as the album is about to come out. And it's for the Defined by Love track. I'm really excited about it. It's just so happy. It makes me feel so good. So my hope is that it makes other people feel good. You know, that's what we need right now.
Yes.
Stuff that makes us feel good.
I feel good just sitting here chatting with you today.
Me too. I feel so good.
Aww. Anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here?
I don't know that I have much more to talk about. It's like, music is my life. And my daughter, she's wonderful.
Aw, pipes.
Let's take you back to that wonderful day, May 22nd, 2005, the day she was born. I'm just kidding.
And then she wore all of my son's clothes and everyone.
She did. She wore all of your son's clothes.
True. That's how we go back.
Because nobody else had babies. And I would like to have a special shout out to all the women who are starting to have their babies now at age 40. Congratulations. I couldn't do it. And my friend Margie calls it Freedom 45.
Oh,
all
us
our
having
kids will be out
children
of the
young?
house.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, Ange, you and I are like Freedom 42 or something. I don't know. Like,
Seneca starts university next week. I'm actually done in a week.
This is insane. Yes. I would just like to go on record and say that I love you so much. And I'm so glad to spend this time with you and to have an interview that was longer than 4 minutes. This is very cool.
That was very cool. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
This has been Kingston Live. We encourage you to rate us on your listening platform of choice and subscribe where possible. For show listings, artist info, and all things Kingston music, check out kingstonlive.ca. Kingston Live was produced in Kingston by Titan Sound. Hosted by Ange Stever. Voiceover and technical production by John Sanfilippo. Writing and research by Peter Sanfilippo. Executive producer Rob Howard. Kingston Live is a member of the Canadian Live Music Association. We'd love to hear from you. Email us at podcast@kingstonlive.ca.
Okay. Are you good, John?
I cried like as if I was not going to
We laughed,
cry.
we cried.
Look at that.
I know. I'm very comfortable.
Literally.
It's a very comfortable space.
You should probably take a photo of us, actually, Johnny.
Yeah.